Let's look at this next group of writers here. E. E. Cummings, probably the one that stands out the most in terms of being able to recognize his style. Inspired by experimental poetry of Ezra Pound, but he definitely developed his own style. So here's his stamp. Everyone gets their stamp there, 2012, a nice forever stamp. So he's got a distinctive, easy to recognize poetic characteristics. Lowercase, little interest in punctuation. Versification, no spacing, just, not random spacing. We've seen a lot of this abstract way of presenting things, but he definitely stands out. I'll show you an example in a minute. He's interested in the visual aspects of how a poem is presented because he's also a painter. So he uses colloquial language in his poems, somewhat reminiscent of some of the other poets we've seen, maybe Walt Whitman, a little bit maybe. Published Tulips and Chimneys in 1923, which was his first work of verse. So these are some poems to read. Look at the way these poems are laid out. Sense, feeling is first, you got capital there. But the next one is I, and then you've got, the first parenthesis there, A, and then that's the poem. That's the name of the poem. So a lot of experimental there, and just take a look at some of those poems, and you want to read them a little bit later on. So this is next to, of course, God, America, I. The syntax is all messed up on purpose. So next to, of course, God, America, I love you, land of the pilgrims, and so forth. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early, my country 'tis, of centuries come and go. So he's mixing in a lot of the anthems and songs and poems and stuff that we all recognize in here. And the words, my language, even deaf and dumb, the last word here stands out. You could see how this radical style here. And the very end of this poem here, he spoke and drank rapidly a glass of water. And that's all put, the first part before that you could see was put in quotes, which is interesting. Jean Toomer, our next poet here, was an important writer of the Harlem Renaissance. His book, Cane of Stories, Poems, and Essays is considered an important work of the Harlem Renaissance. He discovers in that book, he discovered interracial heritage as a teenager. He discovered interracial as a teenager, went back and forth between schools, between African American and school for whites. So, a lot of the different, growing up in different systems and seeing how things work on different ends of the spectrum there. Some of the works to read are Blood Burning Moon, 7th Street, and A Portrait in Georgia. I want to show you this really strong poem here, Portrait in Georgia. Hair braided chestnut, coiled like a lyncher's rope, eyes faggots. In that sense, that's the cigarette there, so burning red eyes. Lips, old scars, or the first red blisters, breath, the last sweet scent of cane, and her slim body white as the ash of black flesh after flame. So very strong imagery there, very strong, hair, lips, eyes, breath, and body, just description of each one there that's laid out in a very modernist way. Portrait in Georgia. Next poet here is Hart Crane. Very tumultuous and unstable lifestyle led to his suicide. We're going to see this in some of the poets. They take their own lives because things were difficult, but poetry is a vehicle of expression. You can see a lot of the tumultuous lifestyles that a lot of these poems or poets lived. And so he was an urban poet of traditional forms, an associate editor of Dial magazine. And it's very abstraction, thick-set poetry, sometimes difficult to understand. Definitely inspired by The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. Wrote a long epic poem called The Bridge about the Brooklyn Bridge. And that would be something to look at. So we've got an excerpt of The Broken Tower here. You could see the bell rope that gathers at dawn dispatches me as though I drop down the knell of a spent day to wander the cathedral lawn from pit to crucifix, feet chill on steps from hell. So that rhyme scheme there, dawn, lawn, knell, hell, we've got A, B, A, B. You can see how that same goes on in the next one, same rhyme scheme, something to keep in mind as we move along. Here's another one of his poems here, Chaplin-esque. Just an excerpt, but a little bit different in style. We make our meek adjustments, contented with such random consolations as the wind deposits and slithered into ample pockets. So different style, you can see there from the previous one. And, you know, there's no verse here. And its form's different and a little more radical. So a lot of these poets have different styles and end up being consistent with just one particular one there in general. So there's one more set of poets we have to look at, and let's move on to them.